future of more than 1 million New York City school students still remains in limbo. There is still no clear-cut plan to reopen schools in September. The state released its guidelines yesterday, providing a framework for a return to the classroom. But Governor Cuomo says, hey, not so fast.
Schools will reopen if that region is in phase 4 and the daily infection rate remains 5% or lower over a 14-day average.
And possibility.
All right, Mayor de Blasio was a bit more optimistic about school reopening during a press conference last Wednesday. Here's what he had to say.
More about what this will look like. For the vast majority of kids in the vast majority of schools, you'll be going to school, to the classroom, either 2 days a week or 3 days a week.
Mixed messaging once again, much like when we saw that schools were closing. Joining me this morning is Teacher Union President Michael Mulgrew to weigh in on the school reopening plan. So good morning to you, Mr. Mulgrew. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I hope you're having a good day.
You too. It looks like you are outside enjoying the weather this morning. So let's get to it. Governor Cuomo says he won't make a decision on whether or not to open schools until the first week of August. But in the meantime, is the UFT working on its own plan for getting teachers back in the classroom? I know teachers really need to get those lessons plans in order and need to know what's happening.
Yeah, we've been working on this for months, anticipating that we could be reopening, but nothing has been determined yet. Remember, it's all about the numbers. This is a public health decision. Yeah. This is not a political decision. And we're very happy that our state, happy in this tough world, that our state is focusing on this as it should be, which is it's a public health decision at all times. We have been working on this. We've been working on this quite a bit with the Principals Union and over the last month and a half with the Department of Education. But we're going to continue to plan. We want to enhance our remote instruction as well as make sure that we're going to have everything in place for the safety of every school community if we do have the opportunity to open in September.
And when you look at the numbers, according to the mayor's office, 75% of parents in New York City want to send their kids back to school. But what's the percentage, do you know, of teachers who actually want to go physically back into a classroom in the fall?
Well, even the mayor's numbers, the way when he quotes that, he's being misleading because if you read what the questions were and what the answers were, it's about 20 to 25% of parents who definitely want their children back in school. The other 50% of that number really want questions answered first, and it's all about safety. They want assurances that their child is going to be safe when they go to school, and they're going to make sure that the household is safe when they come home from school.
Yeah,
the teachers are feeling the same way. It's a little higher amongst teachers. We haven't done a formal survey yet. We're waiting for that result. But it's clearly because New York City teachers, we had so many of our public school, we had over 73 just of our school-based members passed away because of COVID.
Right.
So the fear and apprehension amongst the teachers and the guidance counselors and the paraprofessionals is high because of what we've already gone through. But we hopefully have learned. Go ahead.
Who do you take your guidance from? There seems to be this back and forth. We saw it when schools were closing. We're seeing it now with the reopening plan. The mayor says one thing, the governor says another, and it just confuses teachers and it confuses parents. So who do you listen to, and what's your advice to those teachers who are listening to you?
Well, we work with both entities, but in the end, we take our guidance from doctors in terms of this issue. We have our own set of doctors who we're constantly collaborating with. We like what the governor put out yesterday in terms of their specific numbers inside of it. And if we don't have 14 days below 5%, we're not going to get to phase 4. And then if the infection rate goes up above 9%, then the schools are going to close down again anyway. So that's solid, clear, unambiguous numbers that we're looking at when we're trying to work with what goes on in an individual school. The mayor is in charge of the school system in New York City. The governor's in charge of the entire state's and what goes on inside of it under a health crisis. But in the end, it's really, we make our decisions based on what medical professionals are telling us. And if that gets us into conflict at times with elected officials, then so be it. Because we're making our decisions based on safety.
Chancellor Richard Carranza has worked out several models on what exactly schools could look like in the fall. Have you had a chance to review some of those ideas and those models, and how do teachers feel about it?
Yeah, we've been working very closely with the chancellor. This is, when people were first thinking about this, we did the original modeling early in April, in the middle of April and on. And unless we were able to basically triple the number of classrooms and triple the number of teachers, there was no way we could bring all the children back and be safe. So this blended model, it gives schools a roadmap, but it's tough because we have 1,800 schools. You know, you're talking about, they just talk about LA and San Diego, which isn't opening up. Together, they only have 800,000 students. We're close to 1.15 at this point.
I understand, but I was actually just going to ask you a question about those two districts, Los Angeles and San Diego, two of the largest in California. You know, so they actually came out and announced that they will be online only in the fall because they are seeing an uptick in numbers. You know, are you watching what they're doing and getting some guidance, or not so much because their numbers are going up while ours are staying down?
Well, in the case of both of those school systems, if we had those numbers here in New York, we would not be open.
Right.
Period. End of story. So New York, you know, we went through this horror earlier this year. We called it going to hell and back, and we don't want to go back there anymore. So we have learned this lesson, and hopefully, you know, when it comes to education, the whole idea is to teach the lesson once, and then you have it, and you know what you can and can't do. Clearly things were done in March that did not make sense. But now I think it's clear that everybody understands it's about safety and health at all times. If we had those numbers, we would not be talking about opening up schools right now in New York City.
Understood. Mr. Mulgrew, I appreciate your time this morning. Both my parents are educators, so I have a soft spot for educators. Thank you for your time. And you know, when the socially distant is over, it looks like you got a great backyard. I'll wait for the invitation.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. Take care now.